Okay. Hi, Dr. Bine.
Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? So it is 2:00. It's another edition of Live with D25. It's Friday, and there's a few things that we wanted to update everybody on. So this is being recorded, and right now I don't see anybody else in the attendee room, but I think it's still a good opportunity to record this and get this out to the public. Lana, thank you. Lana just helped me, brought me something. Since last week, there's been a few things. Nothing's really changed, honestly, Dr. Bine, but I think it's just important to kind of say, okay, you said that there might be guidance coming from the ISBE as far as what next year is concerned. There's another thing up in the air. Will we have remote learning, a remote academy next year or not? And what's the remaining of this year going to look like? So I guess we can just kind of recap that again, because it is kind of changing a good amount.
Sure. Yeah, let me talk about next year and start there. There is a letter going to families, I think maybe even before this day ends, that talks about it's time to register for next year, and there'll be an email coming out on Monday to families. Many of our families are used to that process with that email, and it walks them through the registration process. So the letter that goes out today lets them know registration is coming for the new school year. And our new school year will be our typical school year that they're used to. And all in-person learning with our 5 full days. For those that have 5 full days, our early childhood, Monday through Thursday schedule. Basically everything returning, extracurriculars returning, PE returning. If you think about a year before COVID, it would be just like that, with some modifications, because we expect we'll still be in the pandemic at some level at that point. And so anything that is required by the CDC or the Illinois Department of Public Health, or that they guide us to do at that time. So if we're still wearing masks, we'll be doing that here unless the CDC says masks are no longer needed. If there are health guidelines, depending on student age, we'll be implementing those in our schools at that time. But otherwise, yeah, we are planning for a more typical school year. Again, right now at the middle school, our kids are not changing for PE. They will be next year. We'll be back to using our locker rooms. If the CDC says we still need to do masks, then we'll be wearing masks during PE, unless we're outside and 6 feet apart. I know a lot of people have a question about the future of contact tracing and the future of quarantining. If someone is positive, or if someone's exposed to someone who's positive. We'll implement whatever the health department guidelines are when we enter the new school year. So if they're the same, then yes, if someone's a close contact, they're going to need to quarantine for 14 days. But again, we know this pandemic has been ever changing, and the guidelines, as our health department partners become more and more educated about it, have been fluid. So we'll implement whatever those guidances are in the fall. And of course, as we know them, we will be sharing that information with our staff and with our families. But we're looking forward to enjoying the rest of this year. It's springtime. We're having some of those fun end of the year activities. Kids are getting outside. I've been on several playgrounds this week, and it's been super fun. So we're going to enjoy the time we have together this year and make the most of our learning experiences together. And then we'll jump back in with a more regular year when we come back in August.
Cool. And later on this afternoon, this is again Friday, April 30th. So later on this afternoon, look for an email from Dr. Bine that is letting people know that on Monday, you're going to get an email to guide you through registration. And also just a written, the letter's purpose is to make sure you understand what you're registering for, as what the next school year is planning to look like as of right now. With a few exceptions that, again, things that we don't 100% know at this point, but the plan in general is what we're hoping to inform people on with a letter.
Yeah, I should probably add to that, Adam. So again, at this point, we're planning for a full in-person learning experience next year. What we don't know is, will remote learning be required by the State Board of Education in the new school year? Currently, the State Board of Education requires us to offer remote learning for students at elevated health risk or students who live with others who are at elevated health risk. We, of course, in District 25 are still providing remote learning for anyone who chooses that, even though the requirement is only for those with a health risk. So if that continues, if later this month we find that, yes, school districts still will need to provide a remote option next year for those with elevated health risk, we'll be communicating that out before the school year ends. We'll have a procedure for families who need that option. There will be medical documentation required to participate in that option. And so that's another piece of information that we're still waiting on final determination from the state on. So at this point, I would encourage families to plan that your kids are coming back on site next year. And if that remote option becomes something we have to offer, there'll be an opportunity to enroll in that.
Okay, great. That makes total sense. What about we talked a little bit last week on the strategic planning action teams. Is there an update to how people can, or what the process is going to be like, or a timeline, or how people can express interest to join that?
Yeah, coming soon. We will have an opportunity, all of our families will receive some information about the strategic plan and how to sign up if they have an interest in being on an action team. So an action team is a group of probably 10 to 15 people that will focus on one of the 5 goals that we have in our strategic plan. And that team will help determine what kinds of programs or activities should we be putting in place that relate to this goal, and how will we measure if we're achieving this goal or not. So it's a real important group of people. And so an email will be coming out soon in the next week or two that explains the goals, and people could express their interest in one or more of them. It's kind of an application process. We can't have everybody who might want to, but we definitely want representation of all of our constituent groups. So every goal will need somebody who's an elementary parent or a middle school parent, a teacher representing different grade levels, different geographic parts of our school district. So we want to make sure all communities are represented. Parents who have children with special needs or children with advanced learning needs. So we'll want to make sure every viewpoint is represented on each goal. So people will get a chance to kind of, through a Google form, express that they're interested, share which goal they'd be interested in participating on, and sharing some thoughts on what value they might bring to that specific team or what experience they might have in that level. We will notify people as soon as we get all of that input, if we've been able to put them on a team, and if not, we'll let them know why. So for example, if we have 12 parents, all from Dryden School, who want to be on the same committee, we're not going to be able to do that for all 12, right? So as long as we get the different representation filled, we're looking forward to having as much participation as we can. So that information will come out soon, and it spells out the process.
Okay.
Then we should be starting this summer, at least early fall, to be getting up and running.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Last night we had a board meeting, and there was an organizational meeting and a regular meeting. And so in the organizational meeting, just so people understand what happens at those meetings and what happened last night.
Yeah, so every year the school board reorganizes. In some districts, a school board reorganizes every 2 years. In District 25, our board has always chosen to reorganize on an annual basis, whether there's an election associated with it or not. So last night there was a recent election associated with it. So what happens is the four board members who got the most votes in the election either join the board or rejoin the board. And so last night that was Anisha Ismail Patel, Greg Scapalato, Gina Faso, and Rich Olenichek. And they take an oath that is required by law about representing the community in their role. And so that occurred. And then what we do every year is the board revotes for board president, vice president, board secretary. We also have a recording secretary that is actually Lana O'Brien, a district employee who serves that role for the board. And then we also, the Board of Education also either approves a treasurer, or in our area, we have a common treasurer with other school districts. And so they agree to that. And then determine the dates of future meetings and things like that. So last night when the board reorganized, Scott Billepek moves into the president role for the next year, because again, a year from now, they would reorganize again. Brian Cerniglia is the vice president. Anisha Ismail Patel will be our secretary for the next year.
Okay, great. And then we had our regular meeting, and the board buzz will be coming out early next week. And it'll detail all that stuff. The recording of the meeting is online if people want to go online and check out the recording. Okay, great. Is there anything else that you think has happened in the last week since we last spoke to everybody out there that you want to update people on?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. No, stuff is happening every day, right? In everybody's lives, both because it's springtime and it's still a pandemic, and we're hopefully all getting a little bit back to normal. Some more sports are starting, some more local businesses are opening up. So a lot happens every day, but I think everybody has the important information they need to finish the rest of this year and get ready to register for next year.
Okay, excellent. So again, everybody can look out for those emails on Monday, which will launch registration for people. And you'll get an individual link, and it's a really smooth process that Tech's put together, which is awesome. Another thing I want to address is Live at D25 has been so fun so far. I like doing stuff like this. We have not had a giant live audience, I would say. And we're also noticing, like, we're kind of adapting as this goes. We're thinking we might change it next week to 25 with 25, right? So 25 minutes. We're about 14 minutes in right now. We've updated what we want to. I don't see anybody that has any questions right now that's sitting there. And I'm going to stay on in case anybody pops on with questions through the full hour like we promised. But I'm thinking just next week, we're going to adjust the format to 25 with 25, just so that's a little more efficient.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, you know, Adam, of course, if there is ever a big topic that comes up, we can always do a special edition that's longer needed.
Okay, great. So if there's nothing else that you have, Dr. Vine, I invite you, you could just, leave. And I will, I'll stay on, I'll have my video off, but anybody that jumps in and has any questions, I'll notice if they jump in and I'll be able to address them and see if we can get those questions answered. But in the meantime, I'll be here, and thanks for, like, again, giving your time this week.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay. All right, everybody, I'm going to turn off my video, but I'll be here. So thanks for watching. If you're watching the recording, that's it. Okay. Hi, everyone. Live with D25 is now over, and thanks for watching. Okay, see you next week. Bye-bye.